I want to give you a quick tutorial now that you've programmed in all your quick substitutions on how to use the equation editor directly to make life more civilized if you're going to type in your equations in the course. And if you are going to type them in, you want to get good at the equation editor. You still can write them out on paper and submit them to me individually as files, but for a lot of people, they got quite good at this. The equation editor is under the Insert menu and Equation. It is not a very good one. I'm not at all really pleased with it, but it's what's available on Google Docs. So how do you enter your equations? You have a Greek letter, math operators, less than, equal to, greater than, and this is your main spreadsheet here, basically. You're going to be needing fractions, square root, subscripts, and superscripts. So you're pretty much just going to stay on this line. All of this stuff, you don't really need it. So you're basically going to be using the top line here. You're going to be using a couple of Greek letters and some math operators. So let's say you want to write something that's squared. This is what's really annoying about it. You can't enter the square separately like you do on a calculator, where you type something in and then you type in the square. You actually have to pick it ahead of typing anything in. So you have to go that, and now you can go X, forward arrow, 2, forward arrow, and you can move on. You cannot do this. You cannot go equal X and then try to select the square, because it's still waiting for you to type something in, see? And then you hit arrow, then you get that. So that's the order of operation there. Okay, what if we're squaring something inside a bracket, like X plus Y, and we want to square outside the bracket? Then it gets weird. You have to tell the system you are going to square something first. You want to square outside the bracket, so you got to do something really weird here. You got to go up here, pick the power, close your bracket, and move the right arrow over, and then you can do 1 or 2 or whatever you want, and you got it. So it's a little bit odd to get this correctly. Can you turn this into a fraction? Can you fix it after the fact? Yes, you can. So some things it will let you do after. How do I get to the bottom of that fraction? Sometimes you can click, sometimes you can use the arrow. And you see what I just did? I'm now out of the equation. It's a little bit of a nightmare to get in there. You need to see this blue box. It's very easy to escape the equation. I'm still in the equation, right? But if I hit one more right arrow, see the box went away? Now I'm out of the equation. And the equation editor here has gone gray. So watch for the signs that you are in the mode to edit the equation. And it'll take a little bit of time to get comfy with it. So I'll erase this again, and we'll add another new equation. New equation, and I want to do a vector. We're going to be doing a lot of vectors, so there's only one way to do the vector with this. The backslash and vec. Then you press the space key, and if you hit X, you get that. And then you decide to keep typing, and the arrow keeps following. So once you've got it, you need to use your right arrow key. I'm clicking them nice and hard so you can hear, so you can move on. So I want to add another vector, vec, Y, can't space, got to use that arrow, right arrow. And why did it do it like that? Not a freaking clue. It's prone to doing little twitchy things like this. Okay, so that's how you can get a vector sign on there. Now, what if you wanted to label a vector in our current work? So you wanted to label a vector in the X direction. All right, so I want to make a vector that looks like this. I'll leave it, and I'm going to press V, and I'll get this little subscript. I'll show you how to do that later. But I want an arrow over top of it. So I want to write it as a vector. How can I do that in equation editor? First of all, let's do a simpler technique of opening equation editor. I'm going to press my Alt key and hit I, and then it opens that. Alt and the first letter of anything on that toolbar, and you notice the letter E on equation is underlined. Hit E, and we're into equation. So now I want to make a vector with a subscript. So I do \vec, hit space, but instead of just typing a vector, I'm going to go in here and I'm going to pick the subscript, and I get to do vector V, and I could do X direction, arrow, and I've got it. So that's basically all you need to do at this point with the equation editor in order to create vector notation. So let's review that one more time. I want to write the summation of 3 vectors. Vector C is equal to vector A plus B. Then I would just do this. Alt, I, E for equation, \vec, space, C, forward arrow, equals, oops, did something wrong. Oops, it's gone. I'm out of the equation. If I try to do a \vec now, nothing happens. The blue box has disappeared. Click in there. Use your arrow key to move over, equals. I'm not past that. I go back. I hit the arrow one more time. I'm still in the blue box, and now when I hit equals, that doesn't happen. So I'm going to go \vec, space, A, forward arrow, plus, and now I'm going to do vec again. Space. But this time I want to get fancy, and I put a stupid subscript on for no reason at all. I'm going to go in here, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to go B and cause. Now, you see what the subscripts do? They will cause the arrow to follow, so it's not perfect. But odds are the only subscript you're going to ever have is going to be a single letter, like BX or BY. It might be initial, it might be final, and it will cause that to drift a bit. So that's all you need for doing equation entering. But what if you're not in the equation? You just want to go, I plan to travel at a speed of VI equal to 10 meters per second. And you want that VI to show initial, all right? So we want to do this. We want to make that VI small. So if you go up here to Format, Text, Subscript, oh, that's nicer. We've got initial speed. Math teachers like to do it this way. They'll say x2 minus x1. And then you got to go back in here and you got to go Format, Text, Subscript. And over here, you got to Format, Text, Subscript. And then you got to watch. Sometimes you're stuck with a subscript continuing and you can't get rid of it. So that's a real annoyance, okay? So here's how it is the best way to do this. Much more civilized. Notice again, Format, Text. Do you see what it says under subscript and superscript? You have control plus comma, control plus period. That doesn't mean you press control and the plus sign and then comma. It just means hold down the control key and press comma and you'll get a subscript. Watch. I'm going to go V. I'm going to hold my control key, go comma, X. There it is. Unfortunately, just like before, the subscript won't stop. So what you do is you go back after you did that and repeat the same keyboard command. Control, comma, bingo, equals. And what if I wanted to say A squared? I would go A, control, period, 2, then control, period again, and it's gone. And I can do plus, B, control, period, 2, control, period. Once you get good at this, you'll fly. So this is something that is not covered in my short forms above that I created. So you've got 3 ways you can do formulas now on here. Okay, so if I wanted to say this now, watch what happens. Delta D equals D I, oops, df minus D minus D I. Okay, see how quick you can go now with keyboard commands? And if I need an equation, like I need a vector, you have to use the equation editor. So Alt-I-E / vec x equals, okay, oops, go back, arrow forward equals, and you got it. So I want you to get this set up. I want you to be able to quickly enter a vector formula and be able to quickly add subscripts and superscripts. All the other stuff I've introduced to you up here we'll use as we need. You're going to need this delta notation and little i's and little f's and squares right away. So I want you to be able to create a vector. I want you to be able to get square notation. I want you to be able to get subscripts using the keyboard so you can type away at the blazes. If you are on a non-keyboard system, then you're going to have to write it out by hand and submit it that way. And I'm totally good with that. I'll show you how that works. So here's an introduction. Tomorrow on Tuesday, if you want to get things set up, you ain't doing it for me. You can totally ignore this lesson, but I'm telling you, you will save days of time if you are planning to do keyboard input with this stuff. It is your choice for your sanity, not for me. And I will do this personally with you, but this should be enough to get a lot of you off to the races, massaging Google Docs into a civilized tool for typing in equations.